Hi guys, today we're going to look at sowing seeds. Now, growing your own fruit and vegetables from seed is definitely one of the most satisfying and rewarding activities that you can do in the garden. It really is. You can sow seeds every 2 to 3 weeks, and that means that you have a continuous crop right through, and it also costs a lot less than going and buying plug plants from the garden centres. Now, in our cold climate, and we have possibilities of frost right through to the middle of May, with some frost even being predicted for this weekend. Getting your seeds started off indoors is usually a good way to give you a head start. You can use a sunny windowsill in the kitchen, the conservatory. If you're lucky enough, you could use a greenhouse or a polytunnel. You can start off your seeds in simple things like juice containers. I'll show you here. You can start them off in something like this. You can use a lemonade bottle like this and cut it in half long ways and put a couple of slits in the bottom, and that's what you could have your seeds started off there. You can use even some of these small window boxes, things like that, and keep them indoors. Your trays from your supermarkets, all these things can be used to start your seeds off indoors. Now, I have to be honest, I don't start too early in the year when it comes to sowing seeds indoors, because they're going to be relying on you, and once those seedlings pop up and need to be moved on to bigger trays, you're going to have to do all that, and it gives you an awful lot of work. Whereas if you have a wee bit of patience and wait till the weather naturally warms up, you can go direct and start sowing outside in the soil or the vegetable beds or your containers, whatever you want. Now, before we start looking at some of the seeds, I want to show you what I store my seeds in. I have a tin like this. I can't remember where I bought it, but it's quite old. And I keep my seeds all together in something like this. Now, you could also use something like a biscuit tin or chocolate tins that you get around Christmas time. But the one thing I would recommend is that you do label it with a label saying seeds on it, because there's nothing quite like the disappointment of thinking you've found a sneaky box of biscuits or chocolates to find that somebody's actually just using it for seeds. Really is so disappointing. So another wee thing that you can do with them is to keep, the silica gel bags that come sometimes in shoes or handbags. Keep a couple of those and throw them into whatever box that you're keeping your seeds in, and this absorbs moisture so that your seeds stay nice and dry. Just be careful again if you have any young children that you keep all seeds and silica gel and stuff out of their reach. Now, seeds come in all different packets and styles. One of the things I would say is don't go into the shops and go mad and buy tons and tons and tons of seeds, because you'll not use them and then they go out of date. One of the things I would recommend is that you really only purchase seeds for the food or for the fruit that is going to be ate in your house. There's no point buying weird and wonderful things if nobody's going to eat them. It ends up with a lot of waste. So sometimes the seed packets come like this, and they have another little bag inside like so, and the seeds are actually inside the smaller bag. Or they may come and the seeds are actually loose inside. You see those? So it's very important that whenever you get your seeds and you go to open them, that you're very careful. Sometimes what you can do is flick it with your fingers, and that makes all the seeds go to the one end, and that means you don't lose any. Because some of the seeds can be very, very small. Like this here's the radish seeds. So you can see how small they are. So you don't want to be opening packets and firing these things around, because you'll never find them again. On the back of the packets, all the information that you could possibly require is there. Telling you when to plant it out, when you should be ready to lift, your distances for sowing the seeds, how far apart, and your spacing. Everything that you possibly need to know is on your packet here. And some of them now have photographs as well of the seedling, so that you know what you're looking for in your beds, and you can help identify between what you've planted and the weeds. Like that's your spring onion. And that's a little radish seedling here. So say all the information that you possibly, so it is important to read the packets, because everything you need to know is on that. So one of the things that I would do is, I'm using this as an example, just this could be a container outside or a bed outside. I normally would fill it with compost, give it a shake, make sure that you break up any big lumps, and I always would water the compost or the soil first, and the same goes for even in the vegetable bed. Before I would sow any seeds, I would always make sure that I had the little drill that I have made with my little measuring stick. I would make a drill by setting it down onto the compost soil, and you roll it back and forward, and sort of pressing it down, and that actually makes a nice little track for you to sow your seeds outside. For this one, for doing I'm going to do cut and come again salad. You can do what's called just broadcast sowing, which means you literally just sprinkle them on top. So what I normally do is take the packet. Now these seeds can be quite small. Tip them into the palm of your hand, like so. Pinch with your finger and thumb, like that. And then you just lightly sprinkle across the top. Now if I was doing carrots or anything like that, I would do them in rows. And the smaller the container, you really don't need to go mad with the amount of seeds that you use, because you'll end up having to thin them out and you'll lose a lot of them. And whatever's left over in your hand, you basically pour them back in to the packet, close the packet up and put it back into its seed packet, like so. Now for some small seeds like this, I don't know if you can actually see some of the little white seeds on top, you barely need any compost to recover them again. So it is literally just a sort of fine sprinkling of compost over the top. This compost is quite dry because it's been sitting out here in the polytunnel. But again, you break up any large lumps. And I had already that compost there on the base firmed in as well. And again, it gives your little seeds something to push against. So you barely just cover them, because again they're very small. So you barely cover them just with a wee bit of compost. Again, firming down with the back of your hand, like so. Give it another little squirt with the water. I'm just trying to stop this from going everywhere. Give it a good soak. And then what you do is make sure that you label. And if I can find my pen, oh it's in here. You label and date, like you do with every single thing that you go to sow. You label and date. So this is lettuce. And put it in. And that gives you an indication after 7 or 14 days, if nothing's come up, that something might be wrong. It might be old seed or something mightn't be right with it. You can cover it with some plastic cling film. If you're doing it indoors, it just gets it maybe to germinate a little bit quicker. But you can do that and it will grow quite happily. Just make sure that you keep watering. You don't want the compost to dry out completely. You want to make sure that it stays damp. Now one of the other things I can show you is there's different ways the seeds come, not only in packets, but you also get something that's called seed tape. Now I'm going to do a different video and I'm going to show you how you can actually make this easily yourself. This is great when it comes to things like your carrots. I don't know if you can see. Can you see this? The carrot seed has already been put into like paper, and they're spaced out exactly for you as well, so that you don't have to do any of the work like thinning out. And thinning out is basically whenever your seedlings have all come up and they're too close together, you have to take them out, and again on the packet it'll tell you exactly the distance for thinning out. So it might be 5 centimeters, say. So you take your little measuring stick and you put it into your tray or whatever you're using, and you count every 5 on that, and you remove your seedlings accordingly. And that gives the roots room to grow. So say your radish or your carrot or your onion. But in this, you don't have to do any thinning out because the seeds are all spaced out. Now this is quite difficult to come by. You might be able to get it online, but this is done for you, the work's done for you, and you basically dampen your little hollow in the ground that you've made in your bed, and you put this in, cover it up with some compost or soil, and you water it in, and that's it. You don't have to do any other work. This is all done for you. So these are great. I'm going to do another wee video showing you how you can make that yourself. There's other little things that you can use to put your seeds into. These are called, I don't know if you've ever seen these before, little jiffy pods. Can you see? It's like that. And then what you do is you set it into warm water, and it expands and turns into like a little pot for you to put your seeds into. There is a hollow in the top, and you can put 1 or 2 seeds into the top of that. And then you pick out the weakest one, you could discard it. And then you can plant that completely into the ground whenever the seedling's big enough to handle. These are little decomposable pots. These basically rot down into the soil whenever you plant them. These things would be good for beans or something like that, where you're just putting one into each pot. And then you put the whole thing into the ground, and then that rots away. Another thing you can make are some the toilet roll holders. You can make for peas and sweet pea that don't like their roots being sort of touched very much. What you can do is make little pots. If you can't get a hand, as they say at the minute, it's just not easy. But if you can't get your hands onto some of these little reusable or whatever the heck you call these, decompostable pots, whatever, recyclable pots, you can make your own. So you make 4 slits about 1.5 centimetres, 2 centimetres long in the base of your toilet roll holder. Say 12, 3, 6 and 9 o'clock, okay? And what you do is you basically fold each of the 4 sections over the bottom like so. And there you have your very own little pot. What I find is best for these is to use, say, one of your plastic containers and stack them up all together in that, and then that stops them falling over. Again, I say what you can do with this, you can just put the whole thing into the ground if you wish, or because you will be soaking it and wetting it to water, what ends up happening is this can get quite flimsy and messy. So you can actually just peel it away from the root ball that will have formed, and then you just put the roots in. Now, what else have we got? Some of the tomato seedlings, I'm going to show you how you separate them and move them up into a bigger pot. So this was our tomato seedlings that were grown from the this tomato slice that I put in, and I'm going to move them out of this and move them into, so this is just a really rough little show demonstration, a little tray like so, slightly bigger. And again, I'm going to spray the compost, soak it first with a good wee bit of water. I'm just wondering how, if any of you did sow the tomatoes from the slices, have you had any success yet? You may get in touch and let me know. So we have soaked that with water, and what I'm going to use is, sometimes I would use a pencil, or you can use the end of a spoon. I'm going to make a little hole in the middle of each of these with this the lollipop stick. Can you see? Just making a little hole down to the bottom. Just wiggle it back and forward like so, and I'll show you just briefly what I'm doing here with this. I'm going to see if I can get you to come, this camera to come down a wee bit further. So you take, this might be easier because I'm doing it with one hand. Okay, technical problems. So basically you go to the base of the seedling and you put the lollipop stick in quite far down, and you loosen. What you're doing is loosening the soil around. Now normally what you do is you would take the seedling by the leaf and gently pull up. So there you have the root and all ready to go. It's quite long. You can see that. So what you'll do with this is that you'll just put this into the hole that you've just made with your lollipop stick, or you're going to say use a pencil or whatever, pen. And you're just going to gently put that in, trying to disturb the root as little as possible. And then you're just going to firm it, just keeping a hold gently by the leaf. And you're just going to just sort of firm that compost in around the seedling. And you're going to do that for each of these little seedlings that have arrived into this pot. And whenever it gets bigger again, you can move it onto a bigger pot, and then you can move it out into the greenhouse. Because these tomatoes that we have grown here are, I presume, Alicante or some variety like that, and they will do best in a greenhouse. Okay. So say that is basically how you do your seeds. It is as simple as that. You can broadcast them on the top of the compost. You can do them in rows. You can use seed strips, which I'm going to show you how to make one of those for yourself, which is very easy. And once it gets a wee bit warmer outside, I'm going to take you out to the vegetable patch and we'll show you how to make a wigwam for the climbing peas, and for our beans and French beans as well. We'll do some wigwams. And I hope you enjoyed that. Take care and let me know how you're getting on. Bye.